Before the cameras roll each morning, before the smiles and polished greetings, there is a quieter story unfolding, one that never makes the headlines. It's a story not about ratings or awards, but about devotion, resilience, and the unseen cost of standing beside someone the world leans on. For years, Craig Melvin has been a familiar and reassuring presence in American homes, steady, warm, dependable, a journalist audiences trust to guide them through both breaking news and moments of national reflection. But behind that calm exterior, Craig has faced seasons of intense personal and professional strain, moments when the weight of responsibility pressed far heavier than viewers ever realized. And beside him through it all stood his wife, Lindsay Czarniak. Lindsay, a respected broadcaster in her own right, understood the demands of public life. She knew the unpredictable hours, the pressure to always be on, and the emotional toll that comes with being a trusted voice in turbulent times. But knowing something intellectually doesn't make living through it any easier. As Craig's career intensified, so did the quiet sacrifices happening at home. There were mornings when Lindsay woke before dawn, not for her own assignments, but to steady a household running on little sleep and high stress. Days when she adjusted her own professional ambitions to ensure their children felt grounded and secure. Nights when she listened, silently, as Craig processed stories that weighed heavily on his conscience, stories of loss, injustice, and heartbreak that don't simply disappear once the camera turns off. This was not a sacrifice made in dramatic gestures. It was made in 1,000 small, almost invisible choices. Lindsay became the emotional anchor, the calm in moments when uncertainty loomed. While Craig navigated the public expectations placed on him, she managed the private reality, school schedules, family routines, and the emotional temperature of a home trying to remain steady amid constant motion. For viewers in their 60s and beyond, this story feels deeply familiar. Many remember a time when careers demanded everything, when one partner carried the visible burden while the other shouldered the unseen weight. A generation that understands that strength often lives in quiet endurance, not loud declarations. There were moments, sources say, when Craig questioned whether he was giving too much of himself to the job, moments when exhaustion crept in, not just physically, but emotionally. And in those moments, it wasn't the applause of audiences that sustained him, it was Lindsay's steady reassurance that he was more than his role on television. Yet, Lindsay's sacrifice didn't come without cost. Putting her own career on pause, or at least on a slower track, required letting go of opportunities she had worked years to earn. It meant redefining success, not as personal accolades, but the health and stability of her family. For someone who thrived in competitive newsrooms, that shift was both noble and quietly painful. She rarely spoke about it publicly. There were no interviews detailing the emotional balancing act, no confessions about the moments of loneliness or frustration. Instead, Lindsay chose discretion, understanding that some of the most meaningful contributions are never acknowledged. As Craig faced periods of professional strain and personal reflection, Lindsay became his safe place, a reminder of who he was beyond the anchor desk. She encouraged rest when burnout loomed, perspective when self-doubt crept in, and presence when the demands of work threatened to pull him away from what mattered most. Their partnership, forged not in perfection but in perseverance, reveals a deeper truth about long-lasting relationships. Love, especially in later chapters of life, is rarely about grand romance. It's about showing up, about patience, about choosing us over me when circumstances demand it. For many watching today, this story resonates not because it's about celebrity, but because it mirrors their own experiences. The spouses who held families together quietly, the partners who stepped back so someone else could step forward, the sacrifices that were never applauded but deeply felt. Today, Craig Melvin continues to bring warmth and authenticity to his work, and while audiences see a man grounded and grateful, those closest to him know that stability didn't happen by chance. It was built, day by day, by Lindsay Czarniak's quiet strength. Her story reminds us that behind every familiar face is often someone standing just outside the frame, carrying the weight without recognition. And in that silence, there is a powerful kind of love, one that doesn't seek attention but leaves an enduring legacy. Because sometimes the greatest sacrifices are the ones made quietly, and the strongest people are the ones we rarely see.